right. Where's Baker? Baker, Berger, Hudson, O'Donnell, Stinnett. Good. I just want to make sure I'm looking around. All right, excellent. Thank you, Melanie. Hey, we've been here every week in, week out, working away. We outlined where we wanted to be in January. I cannot be prouder of the men and women behind me. We've passed a great conservative agenda for the state of Missouri. We've outlined our priorities week in and week out, and they're all over in the Senate. Again, we have come to work in this building. We're here today to say what we've done. I can outline them, but we're also here to say we're going to be working until 6 o'clock today to do the people's work. We're hoping the Senate can keep functioning at some level of whatever, but we're going to be here. So just to outline a little bit about what we've done. We've done what Missourians have expected us to do. We've eliminated the income tax on Social Security. That was Senate Bill 190. Ben Baker carried that over here, Representative Baker and Representative O'Donnell. Another great win for our seniors. You know, you pay into the system your whole life. Why do you need to have that keep the taxation, attack you essentially for your whole life? When we have inflation, going through the roof here, our seniors need this money. It's about time we let them keep their money that they earned. We've protected Missouri's children from harmful procedures and drugs by passing the trans bill that Representative Hudson carried so well as the Protect Saving Women's Sports Act as well by Representative Berger. I think that's very important. I think we all expect boys to play boys' sports, women to play women's sports. We've helped Missouri jobs creators by helping them train their workers and retain their workers with House Bill 417 with Representative Henderson. We've done the Show Mo Act to revitalize Missouri's film industry, where a lot of money is already being invested through the music industry and the entertainment industry. Representative Curtis Gregory carried that, and that was Senate Bill 94. We've cut unnecessary regulations to expand the physical therapy access for patients. It's ridiculous. You just have to go to a doctor to get a script to go see a physical therapist. Brenda Shields finally got that through. I applaud her for that. I'm so glad we don't have to hear that next year. It's just common sense reform that I think Missourians deserve. Great job, Brenda. Let's see. We've addressed the texting and driving. We want our roads to be safe. That was Senate Bill 106. We've also helped families with affordable adoption and expenses along those lines. We've empowered Missourians with disabilities and extended postpartum care, and that was Representative Kelly and the freshman Representative Melanie Stinnett, who did a phenomenal job with that one. We've helped families afford adoption-related expenses. I mean, we're a pro-life group here. We stand for pro-life, and I think if you're going to stand on pro-life, you need to help people get some adoption done, and Representative carried that as well. That was Senate Bill 24 for Representative Kelly. We outlined, I think everybody knows we have a crime problem in this state, particularly in St. Louis. I cannot thank Representative Lane Roberts enough. Where is Lane? He's probably sleeping. He has worked tirelessly to do this. I can't thank him enough. Let's see. Fentanyl was a crisis. I mean, it's a comprehensive crime bill. Really a lot of good common sense work to be put in there. There's a lot we want to accomplish. There's a lot we're going to work on for next year. But I'm very thrilled with what we have done. We've also passed some good education reform bills that, again, the Senate has not acted on. Open enrollment. Representative Brad Pollitt, I don't know where he is, but I know he worked tirelessly and he's continuing to try to get that across the line over in the Senate. IP reform. We have worked exhaustively on that as well. Every day that crosses my mind. Every day something's across my desk to try to move that along. At this point, again, it's in the Senate's hands, okay? We, as a Republican Party, have delivered conservative legislation, and that legislation stands up for life in Missouri. We are pro-life, and if the Senate fails to take action on IP reform, I think the Senate should be held accountable for allowing abortion to return to Missouri. Questions? I think we all believe that an initiative petition will be brought forth to allow choice.
And you think that 50%?
I believe it will pass.
Would
Absolutely.
Repeal the law?
Absolutely.
A majority of people would repeal the law you passed in 2019?
I think abortion will be allowed because they'll put ballot candidate in, and if you don't pass IP reform, it'll be 50% plus one. I don't believe in changing the Constitution that easily.
Is your caucus interested in passing into law things that are similar to the emergency rule that Attorney General Bailey did on transgender health care for adults?
I think we addressed transgender as we thought we should, which was, what was it? I have the bill numbers right here. 49 and 39. That's how we believe it should be addressed. I stand by that. Those are great. That's great pieces of
So
legislation.
you don't support restrictions for transgender health care for adults?
No, we did not address that in the bill.
But do you support restrictions on it?
I voted on those two bills. Those were not discussed. I stand by the product that we produce, which I think is a good product for Missourians. And it really protects our kids. What we're here to protect the vulnerable people. Our children don't need to have these transformative surgeries or drugs given to them when they're teenagers. They need to be 18. That's what the drug addressed, the bill addressed, and that's what I stand on.
Mr. Speaker, what are your overall thoughts on this past session?
I'm happy. I mean, look what we've delivered. We've addressed transgender, okay? We've protected the vulnerable. We've cut taxes. We are continuing to do things. Crime. We've really done well, and that's because of the men and women behind me. We've worked hard. We're continuing to work hard. We have 2 hours left to go. We're always hoping, right? This is the building of eternal hope. There's still some things that can get done. We're hoping the Senate has some common sense restored, and they can pass some stuff here. We're open. We're happy to take stuff back they send over, and we're going to continue to hope for the next 2 hours. But we've had a very productive year. And the seniors should be grateful, right? They're going to be able to afford to stay in their homes. They're going to be able to afford the increasing food costs. We don't have to worry about the sports issue with boys playing women's sports. I think we've protected that. We've addressed crime. The fact that Kim Gardner resigned is a big victory, okay? The fact that we are also addressing the fentanyl problem and other little components of crime to help our officers out. We've given our troopers a pay raise. Yes, we've had a great year.
Two other big issues were the foreign ownership of farmland and sports betting. What's the path forward for both of those? It seems we're in the waning hours now. Is that next year's issue?
Well, if I'm a gaming man on sportsbook, I wouldn't put a bet down. Foreign ownership is an intricate issue. I'm going to let Representative Hafner talk on that if you would like. But again, we believe in the legislative process, and that is a difficult issue. None of us here, I believe, want the evil empires of the world controlling Missouri farmland. But we do recognize that there are good investors in the state that are our friends: Canada, Great Britain, Israel. But how do you draft that? And that's the problem. We want to protect Missouri farmland. We want to protect our crops. We want to have secure food. And there's a way to do it, we believe. It just wasn't able to get across the line this year.
This might repeat some of what you just said, but I'm going to ask it anyways because I do think it's important to get your side. The Missouri Rural Crisis Center put out a press release this week saying that you and Representative House are blocking a vote on that bill, a final vote on the House floor. Can you respond to that?
Nope. I don't know what you're talking about. Next.
What's the message that you have for children in St. Louis? There was a big push from students around Central Visual and Performing Arts who survived a school shooting, and that wasn't something that the legislature passed or kind of even really
I
took the
beg to
committee
differ. Are you kidding? We outlined that we wanted to attack crime, that we want to hold the perpetrators of crime accountable. This is what we're doing. Guns don't kill people, people kill people. There's a mental health crisis. We've addressed some of that in our legislation this year. We're doing what we can to get a reasonable prosecutor appointed in the city to go after those perpetrators. It's inexcusable what happened at that school and those victims. We need to get those people held accountable. You can't expect civil society if you're not going to prosecute the perpetrators.
Right. In CBPA, though, police were called and knew that this individual was a risk, in having a weapon, and police couldn't do anything to take that weapon from the shooter. What message do you have to those students who came here and advocated for gun legislation reform?
Well, they did respond. In fact, we honored them on the dais. They responded in a very timely manner. Their heroic actions saved dozens of lives, perhaps. One day at a time. The city has a crisis. It needs to be addressed.
During the debate on that transgender legislation, a member of your caucus, Representative Sander, had wanted to speak on that legislation and speak in opposition to it.
No individual was singled out there whatsoever. We have a process in this building. Those bills were vetted earlier in the legislative process. It's well known in the floor how many people are usually gonna talk. My floor leader does, or our floor leader does a great job of managing debate on the floor. If you let it go on and on and on, we would become the Senate.
At this point, he said that he's considering leaving the caucus because of that and because of, I think he had phrased it, lack of support, in actions. Can you address,
Representative Sanders services 38,000 people as he sees fit, okay? Those are his priorities. We may not agree 100% of the time. We're a broad tent, okay? We don't expect to agree with everybody 100% of the time. How he chooses to handle himself or what his issues are and why he chooses to be a Republican are entirely up to him. Again, we debate, we caucus, we try to work together.
I want to say one of the governor's big priorities that wasn't addressed is childcare this year. And I know Representative Shields, that was a really big thing for you. But what's the plan there going forward? That was a huge governor priority.
There's several bills over there that can be done. We're working until 6 o'clock. We are eternally hopeful.
Have you talked to the Senate or leadership at all about the next 2 hours?
I haven't spoken to them in the last 2 hours, but I know they're working hard and they have a different game plan over there. I'm sad that some senators use things as hostages, if you will. I think they're kind of quite terrorist, if you will. I'm not thrilled with their rules. I think their rules need to be revamped. I don't think they effectively represent the state sometimes. But again, that's not my sandbox. This sandbox is over here. I am incredibly proud of the 163 reps that we have. We disagree. I'm incredibly proud of the 111 Republicans that we have to pass and push conservative legislation in Missouri.
The Cardinals and the Royals have recently come out and saying that they would like to put an initiative petition on the ballot. President DeWitt III has been very vocal about this in the past 2 weeks. What do you think about these professional sports teams putting the question on the ballot, asking if sports betting should be legal in the state?
It's unfortunate we can't pass that. It's unfortunate the Senate is not taking that bill up. I think they've had numerous years and opportunities to do that. If there is an initiative proposed by the Cardinals to do that, I would like it to pass with 57% of the vote, though.
There's been already reports of an exodus of families that have transgender members in their families. A real-life example is a school board member in Columbia who recently resigned in the past week and plans on leaving the state. What do you have to say to families that have transgender members in their families that are now fearful as a result of the legislation we passed?
I don't think they need to be fearful at all. I don't think this body, this caucus, has any disdain for anybody. Okay, what we're doing is protecting children from undergoing what we believe is harmful procedures when you're a teenager. To be given drugs to become permanently sterile, to change your body when you're a teenager. You can't even lawfully drive or drink or vote. And they're asking you to be able to do that to a child? I think that's entirely wrong. I think it's wrong for men to play women's sports. I have a 14-year-old daughter. I don't want her playing sports with a guy. No, what we passed is common sense reform to protect our children. And I'm sorry those families feel that way, but this is Missouri. We're going to protect the vulnerable.
During the public hearing portion of the discussion of this bill, there was 2 rooms full of individuals that traveled very far and apparently stayed until 2 in the morning to be heard. And aside from the chairman of that committee, not a single member of your caucus sat there to listen to them. Can you actually describe what types of outreach and discussions you and your caucus had with actual members of the transgender community?
They can come, anyone. The state of Missouri, our citizens come down here. This is a big building. You guys walk the halls every day. People are welcome down here. They're not excluded whatsoever. You can always submit written testimony too.
Have you had any discussions with any transgender individuals?
Yes, I have.
Can you
Yes, I have.
Can you describe those discussions?
It was
During the debate of this bill in particular?
I'm not going to discuss intimate details of any individual's personal account on what they believed in, but it was emotional, and there were some points I disagreed with. But I've been dealing with this issue as well for the last 6 years. When I was Gen Law's chair, we took up this issue as well.
Why do you, every time we come here during these end of session press conferences, a recurring theme is a disconnect between the House and the Senate. Why does this keep happening? What do you think needs to be done for the 2 bodies to work better together?
I enjoy working with the Senate. Every time the floor leader and I go down there, I think we have good discussion. We work things out. I am not here to meddle in their affairs, all right? They have their sandbox, we have ours. I think you're better off asking out of the Senate on why some bills get held up over there. Again, I'm an eternal optimist. The day's not over yet, gentlemen. We have until 6 o'clock today.
Why are you holding this press conference now instead of after adjournment? Is it to send a message to the Senate?
No, we are running out of bills. This kills 30 minutes. No, go ahead, sir.
Sorry about that. So the funding formula has been stagnant for about the past 10 years, and there was legislation to try to put some more money into it this year, but it didn't get through. Are there plans to try again next year?
Concerning what formula?
The funding formula for public schools.
We fully funded that. I know we've sent some issues, the bills have been filed, a lot of that has been debated. I don't know if you follow the debate process through our committees that we have, but that has been debated. Nothing moves fast, but I believe we've fully funded so much with education, and we're going to continue to look at education on how we can improve the opportunities that parents and children have, which is just yet one more reason why I would call the Senate to pass the open enrollment bill that Representative Pollitt sent over. Couple more questions, and we're going to go back to work.
Why do you think those education bills aren't moving so much this year? Open enrollment, expansion of tax credits?
If you knew, I would hire you. I don't know. I think they're good bills. I mean, we're here to try to give parents and children opportunities because it's equal opportunity that we're trying to give. Education is clearly one of the biggest things you can offer someone to improve their stance in life. And you know, we want Missourians to have a bountiful life and great opportunity.
Have you spoken with anyone from the NCAA regarding the transgender sports restrictions?
I have not.
What about the CYC?
I have not.
They don't know if that applies to them or not.
No one's contacted me on that.
Or private universities? Any thoughts on that as it applies to that? Because, you know, they don't receive state funding.
You know, everything we pass here is always up to debate, right? And there's 3 branches of government. I think there's checks and balances for a reason, but we think it's a good bill.
Was the vehicle property taxes, was that, forgive me, I forget where that stood.
It's late in session, and believe me, it does. It's over there as well. In fact, we just put that on Senate Bill 133 and sent that back over to give them yet another opportunity to take up something that will benefit all Missourians. You know, 4 years ago you bought a vehicle, 5 years ago you bought a vehicle, you paid your personal property tax. I don't mind contributing to this state, so we have roads, bridges, you know, what the necessities we need. And then COVID hit, and then the government flooded the market with money, and it changed our supply chain. And next thing you know, you had a 5-year-old car, and your property taxes doubled on that almost. That's not what government should be doing, and government should certainly benefit from the mistakes that it made there. So yes, we are hoping that gets across the line too. Thank you all very much. I appreciate it. It's been a good year. Emily, well, I'll get you one more, Emily.
No,
You're my favorite, so.
Are you holding one after as well, or is this?
Let's, you know what, I would love to. Everyone's asked me that too. Let's just see what gets done, right? You don't need to hear me banter on any more than I do. Let's just hope we get some good things across the line for the citizens of Missouri, and thank you all very much.
Absolutely.